Hello and welcome back to the Warspite channel. I am your host, and today we're going to be looking at another English castle. I think a few people have been disappointed that some of the castles I've shown you are a bit ruined. We tend to treat them rather badly in this country, but today's one is Bodiam in Sussex, National Trust site set in a wet moat enclosure, and once described as the most perfect castle in England. And well, let you be the judge of that one. Bodiam was built in the 1380s, roughly 1385, by Sir Edward Dallinglig, who was a local minor gentry. He was actually a second or third son. Wasn't expected to inherit the family estates, but he did rather well fighting in the 100 Years' War under King Edward III, and Bodiam may represent some of the money he brought back from France as ransoms and loot. From the outside it looks picture perfect. Once you get inside you do realise that the interior has been rather robbed out for stone, which unfortunately is a frequent thing in Britain. Some areas treated a ruined castle as a free stone quarry, and people would go in there and just loot stone as they wished. So from outside, picture perfect. The interiors had a bit of a bashing, but it has led at least one visitor in the past, reported in one of the guidebooks, to describe it as the most perfect castle in England. And from the outside, that's possibly true. However, from this position up on one of the towers, you can look down into the courtyard. It's a single bailey enclosure with towers at the corners and in the middle of each side. And you can see here that many of the interior buildings are actually missing. Missing is the Great Hall, missing is much of the accommodation, and missing is most of the kitchen. Modern visitors approach the castle via that bridge, which goes from that bank straight onto an octagonal island. Originally, visitors would have come from where I'm standing straight onto the octagonal island via a much longer bridge, which would put their unshielded right hand towards the castle and prevent them using their shields. And the process was via the octagonal island, then through a barbican, and then finally up to the main gatehouse. So you're passing over at least 3 drawbridges, several great gates, at least 3 portcullises, and in the main gatehouse there are martyriae or murder holes. Note also wonderful reflection of the castle in the moat that day. It was a really great day to be there. Looking down from next to the gatehouse, you get a better view of what I've just been describing. The modern bridge is at the top, and that spans a short distance from the bank to the octagonal island. But the original bridge would have come in at 90 degrees from the bank out of view to our left onto the octagonal island. There may have been a simple drawbridge or withdrawing bridge at that point. Then from the octagonal island you went into the barbican, which is just that one slab of wall you see there today. The barbican was originally 3 stories high. We know that because there's a portcullis slot in it, and that would have required at least 1 extra story plus a roof story to haul up the portcullis into, and then you've got a sort of an extended island back towards the castle where those 2 people in dark clothes are walking, and then you've got the main gatehouse, which has its own drawbridge, its own portcullis, and above a series of machicolations, which are slots set into the base of the crenellations, the upper works, which will allow objects and projectiles to be dropped upon an attacker. So passing through the barbican, of which there is only 1 wall and a portcullis slot left, this is our view towards the drawbridge, the first portcullis, and the great gatehouse with its machicolations above. For those not familiar with parts of a castle, these are the machicolations at the top of the main gatehouse. These are the slots that allow defenders a concealed ability to drop objects or shoot down vertically upon attackers. And the wall that they are in is the crenellation. The crenellation are the up and down bits, the up bit being a merlon, the down bit being an embrasure, and if one is to fortify one's home, one would apply for a license to crenellate. Indeed, the license here was granted by King Richard II, and the license entitles you to fortify the building by putting the up and downy bits on top of the wall. So that's the merlons, the embrasures, and in this case matriculations underneath to allow vertical fire. The National Trust staff are rather proud of their portcullis, iron shod over wood, which they claim to be the oldest portcullis in Britain. However, it's not as complete as you might want it to be. From the outside it looks great, the inside had a hard life. As you can see here, most of the interior of the portcullis is missing, the woodworm having had a go, and also missing is the floor of this chamber, which would have been the roof of the gatehouse beneath us, and it would have contained numerous maturiae, that is, apertures to allow either firefighting water or unpleasantries to be dropped onto attackers. These are the maturiae, or murder holes, in the rear part of the main gatehouse. While they're often described as being used to drop boiling oil, molten lead, all sorts of liquids and fiery items, the most effective thing to drop here is powdered quicklime. Powdered quicklime would activate against sweaty skin, would activate on the mucous membranes of the throat, mouth, etc., and it's effectively medieval mustard gas, extremely unpleasant. This is the last portcullis slot in the main gatehouse, and you can see my video camera and walking pole resting in the slot where the portcullis used to slide up and down. Time for some more movie footage. We're back inside now the interior, the courtyard of this one Bailey Castle. There's the main entrance which we've just come in through. That's where my walking pole and movie camera were. That's one of the round corner towers. The towers running down each side are actually square. That's where the Great Hall would have been. And notice the fireplaces, substantial fireplaces. This would have been very luxurious accommodation. There's a chimney above those two fireplaces. Back to the main entrance there, and behind me is actually the kitchen. Notice again fireplaces in that wall, and yeah, this would have been a fairly sumptuous place to have lived at one time. My daughter was standing next to me for this bit, so I've left the original soundtrack on. I'm sure she was really interested. By the way, when I was in the postern while you're upstairs, they've got Maturier in there as well.
Are they?
Yeah. They really don't like visitors.
This is not the same one I went up earlier, is it?
No.
It's the other side, right one, is it?
This is the view out of the postern, which is the smaller rear gate, which also would function as a service entrance. It's right next to the kitchens and food store. This would have had its own drawbridge, its own maturier, pictured here. Matriculations above on the gate in the tower, and it even had its own little portcullis, which is now to be pictured here. That's the slot of the portcullis leading into the chamber above. So smaller rear gate. They would probably have burned the bridge down in the event of an attack, so to completely destroy it, and just function with the main gate at the front. Unfortunately, due to disability issues, there's a limit to how much stair climbing I can do, and I foolishly chose one tower to climb up, thinking these aren't a bad set of stairs. Got to the top, got through the gatehouse, and discovered the stairs on the other side were an absolute pig. Nevertheless, here we are, up looking down into the courtyard from the main gate. My daughter's visible just through there, and up here there's another close-up view of the matriculation, which covered the main gatehouse, and also there's a similar set at the rear. So it's matriculation, crenellation, all the up and downy bits. Special mention should be made of one salient feature at Bodiam, which are these upside down keyhole gun loops. Bodiam, the West Gate at Canterbury, and the Cooling Castle in North Kent both feature these strange upside down keyholes. They are believed to be the first gun loops incorporated into an English building, and they appear to date to about 1380, 1385, which means that even at this date, the country that's famous for the longbow was already considering guns as important. And these, of course, are the Dannebrog family arms on the gatehouse itself. I was lucky enough to get inside one of the gun loops, and you can see it here. It's quite narrow. There's a little bit of a ledge which the weapon could have been rested upon, but it's not as well designed as the ones I featured at Raglan Castle in one of my earlier films. Another quick outside view, a little bit of a close-up. And this one here is even more unusual. It flanks the main entrance and appears to be a sort of dumbbell, double dumbbell arrangement. And I think I've only ever seen this at Bodiam. I haven't seen any other castle. The evening was drawing on at this point. Late November. Sunshine. Gets dark around here about 4 o'clock-ish. So it's time to start moving. So we circuited the castle on the other side. There's one of the big corner towers. The chapel was just behind it. That's the entrance we just walked in and walked out. And we're now heading for the car park. We're now on the river side of the castle. Good view towards the postern there. The Dannebrog coat of arms are actually repeated above the postern gate. A little bit more about the history. It was briefly besieged, we think, during the reign of Richard III. It's thought that somebody in the area was attempting to rebel against Richard, and there was indications that troops were sent here to lay siege to it. We've got no idea if that siege ever actually took place. You can see that the water is wonderfully reflecting the castle, almost like a mirror. During the English Civil War, it was briefly held for the Royalists, and that may actually have saved it. Most castles held by the Royalists were slighted, which means they are scuttled, destroyed, like scuttling a boat. But this one was actually sold to a parliamentarian by the Royalist owner to pay for his fines, and the parliamentarian refused to have it destroyed. Another quick view from the south side. By this time the sun was setting, so the stones have picked up the colour of the sun quite nicely. It was eventually saved for the nation by Lord Curzon in the early years of the 20th century. I will hopefully be featuring Tattershall Castle later, up in Lincolnshire. Curzon was instrumental in saving parts of Tattershall Castle, and additionally saved Bodiam, and eventually he presented it to the National Trust, and the National Trust of the organisation which looks after it today. Again, wonderfully reflected in the moat there. It's open most days of the year, but we're restricted opening hours over the winter months. I think they shut it here about 3:30. I briefly worked at the Royal Artillery Museum in Woolwich when it was based there, and one of the artefacts we had there was the Bodiam bombard. This is an early artillery piece, probably late 14th to 15th century, and it was found during an excavation of the Bodiam moat, probably early years of the 20th century, and is now looked after by the Royal Artillery. In common with many parts of the south coast of England, Bodiam was actually refortified in 1940, and this is a small anti-tank pillbox which faces a bridge over the River Rother, which is about 350 metres behind me when I'm taking this picture. These were taken on an earlier visit. There's a close-up of the embrasure, which may have had a small bomb thrower. There's a back view, and finally my daughter once got inside this as a child, and that's her just sizing up whether she wants to do it again. She didn't. So, where are we? I'm here. You're over there. Both in shot so far. Quick reaction, what do you think of Castle?
Very good.
I think she likes it. This has been a Warsmite production. If you've enjoyed this, please leave a thumbs up. If you've really enjoyed it, please feel free to subscribe. I look forward to seeing you next time.
This is Warspite out, and have a very good day.